Hi, my name is Adam Kebeck and I'm the Customer Support Manager for Events here at Blackthorn. I hope everyone's doing well and staying safe, and thanks so much for joining us today. Today I'll be walking through the December released events webinar. If you have any questions following this webinar, please reach out to us at community.blackthorn.io, and that's community.blackthorn.io, and I'll show you that real quick. So if you navigate to our community, click create a case right here. That will route a support ticket directly to our support team. So let's get started. Before upgrading, please make sure to review both the events and the payments release notes, even if you only have free events. Once upgrading, please make sure to reauthorize Blackthorn Events by navigating to the Blackthorn Events admin page and clicking Authorize the app. If you need more information, please click here. So let's get started. We have an extensive number of enhancements that I'm excited to show you guys today. So our first enhancement is that Blackthorn Events Checkout now supports Spreely. For more information, please click here. And if you have any questions, please submit a ticket at community.blackthorn.io. Our next enhancement that I'm pretty excited about is that webinars are now supported on sessions. For example, if you have breakout sessions for an event that require separate webinars, you might want to use this new feature. So let's show you this live. So let's click into one of our events. So we'll go to Connected University Alumni Weekend. I'll first show you what this looks like when the webinar has already been created for your session. So we'll click into Sessions. We'll click into our orientation presentation. And we'll scroll down a little bit. I added a new section called Webinar Information. This will show your webinar meeting account. This is where you add your authorized account, your authorized webinar account. We have a field for webinar meeting URL, webinar meeting ID, and webinar meeting password. Please make sure you add all these fields to your layout. Once you add in your webinar meeting account and you click Create Webinar Meeting from here, also please make sure to add this button to your layout. Once you click that button, this will auto-generate the meeting URL, the meeting ID, and the meeting password. So let's show you this live. We'll first authorize our WebEx account, and then we'll create that webinar on our session. So we'll go to the app picker. We'll search for webinar accounts. We'll click New. We'll call this WebEx2. And we'll enter our provider, and that's it. That's WebEx. And then we'll click Authorize. We'll click Connect. Let's sign in. So we have Salesforce at blackthorn.io. Enter our password. Boom. Our webinar account is now authorized. So let's navigate back to our event and go to one of our sessions. So we'll click into Events. We'll go to our Connected University Alumni Weekend. And let's find one of our sessions that has not yet had a webinar created for it. So let's do Happy Hour Networking. So we'll scroll down to our webinar information. Let's go in and add that new WebEx account. And we'll click Save. That's it. All we're entering is that webinar meeting account. So now, let's go in and create that webinar. So we'll click Create. Boom, that was a success. So we'll navigate back to our session, scroll down. You'll see we have our meeting URL now, our meeting ID, and our webinar meeting password. So let's click into the flow to show you how you would join that meeting. So we'll click here. While this event has not yet started, we won't be able to click in and actually join the event, but I just want to show you how this flow works. So we'll click Open. Enter our full name and email. And you'll see as the event has not started, I cannot join this meeting yet. So that's how sessions and webinar accounts work. So next, the attendee link sessions are now iframeable. This means that attendee link sessions for registration can be embedded into your web pages, just like our events and event groups. The next new enhancement that I'm excited about is visibility controls are now supported on sessions. Visibility controls allow you to control the visibility to certain sessions based on the attendee. This allows attendees to only see and register for sessions applicable to their visibility controls. So these are the controls set on their attendee record. So let's navigate to the back office and show you this live. So let's go back to our Connected University event. And I'll first show you our attendee. So let's click in the Bob the Tester. You'll see his visibility controls are set to member. Let's go ahead and update the registration status to invited so we can show you what that looks like when he goes in to register. So again, the visibility controls are set to member on the attendee. And you also want to make sure you add the new visibility controls field to your sessions. So this is what drives that visibility on the attendee link. So any of these sessions that contain or equal member will show up for that attendee when he's registering for the event or registering for sessions. So he'll see the welcome address, the off-campus lunch, the open panel discussion, and the orientation presentation. So let's navigate back to that attendee who's invited, and let's open up his attendee link URL. I'm going to do a hard refresh real quick. So now if we navigate to the Sessions tab, he will only see those sessions where the visibility control matches what's listed on his attendee. So there's 3 available on December 31st. We can view all, and there's also 1 on January 1st. So now let's go in and mark his status as registered to see what it looks like when they're registering for sessions. So let's set his status to registered. Click Save. Let's do a hard refresh on that attendee link. So he's registered. Now he wants to go in and register for sessions. You'll see he only has visibility into those 4 sessions where the visibility controls on the session matches what's listed on his attendee record. So that's how visibility controls works on the sessions. So next, on the event overview page, the session tab has received several small upgrades, including an all sessions tab and clearer and easier sorting by dates. So again, let's show you how this works. So we'll navigate back to our attendee link. We'll click into our event. We'll click into sessions. And you'll see this all tab. This will now show all sessions that attendee has visibility into. And you can also sort by date as well. Another cool enhancement from this release is that waitlisting is now supported with the Ash UI. So say you have a simple event that sells out. If you enable waitlisting, this will allow those registrants to add themselves to the waitlist. So let's show you how this works. So we'll navigate to our virtual event. Scroll down a little bit. You'll see the status is sold out, but waitlist is open. So let's show you how to enable that. So navigate to our event item. And you can set this at the event level or the event item level. In this case, we're doing it at the event item level. So we have waitlist enabled, so that's checked here. We have our waitlist capacity of 25, and you'll notice this event is sold out. There's 0 quantity remaining. So now we'll navigate to the event, and you'll see we're no longer able to register because that event is sold out. But because we enabled waitlisting, we can click Join Waitlist. Let's enter our name and email. Click save, and we'll click register. This will add us to that waitlist. Boom, I'm now added to that event's waitlist. So let's go back to that event. You'll see my attendee has now been added to the waitlist. Our next enhancement is that CSS can now be injected into the event and the event group. Prior to this release, CSS injection could only be done at the event setting level. So we now support injecting custom CSS on 3 levels: the event setting, the event, and the event group. The more granular levels will take priority over higher levels. So starting with the event, then the event group, then the event setting. So let's show you how this works. So we'll navigate to our event. You'll see we have our custom CSS URL field added. If you don't see this on your layout, please add that to the event and the event group. So now let's show you how this works. We'll navigate to our event, scroll down. You'll see our CSS has overridden the color of these buttons and has also overridden our font. But because we've only injected CSS at the event level, this will not apply to any of our other events. So we'll click back into our event group, click into one of our other events, and you'll see CSS has not been applied. But say you want that CSS applied to all of your events in that event group. We can now do that at the event group level. So go ahead and copy this CSS. And we'll click into our event group. You'll see the custom CSS URL. So we'll go ahead and add that. Now let's do a hard refresh on the calendar. So let's go into one of our other events. So we'll go into Blackthorn virtual event. You'll now see that that CSS has applied to this event. Let's show you one more event. So let's go to Blackthorn Cyclist Association. You can see CSS applied to all the events as part of this event group. As you're already aware, you can also do this at the event setting level. So this is the highest level. So we'll click into events, and we'll click into our event setting. And we'll scroll down to our field. Let's actually go ahead and find that right here. And we can add that CSS as well. And that will apply to all events tied to that event setting. So that's how CSS works at the event and the event group level. Also, another update with CSS is that when injecting custom CSS into your event, changes will now be applied to the post events question URL. So if you have a survey that you're sending out once your event has completed, CSS will apply to that survey as well. So next, the UI experience list on the event group now supports event keywords. This was previously only supported with the Aspen UI. So say you have an event calendar that you want to drill down further than just category. You can add keywords such as outdoors, golf, conference, virtual, and have more granular filters on those event groups. So let's show you how this works. So navigate to our event. So let's go back to our event. Let's click into our event group. Make sure that that UI experience is set to list. So navigate back to our event. We'll scroll up, and you'll see we have 3 keywords assigned to this event: golf, conference, and outdoors. Let's go in and add another one. Let's just say summer fun. We'll click save. So now if we hover over keywords, we have 4. But if you notice, 2 of those are missing keyword categories. That allows us to drill down further. So for in this case, we have type. We can then drill down by golf, conference, outdoors, or summer fun. So I'm going to go and add a category to summer fun. And we'll add in type. And we'll click save. So let's check out one more event. So we'll go to our Blackthorn Cyclist Association. And this has 2 keywords, so outdoors and biking. So let's show you how this works on our event group. So click in and open our event. And then we'll navigate to our event group. So let's navigate to that event group. Let's do a hard refresh to make sure those keywords show up. And now if you click filter by, we can filter by our categories, or we can filter by more granular types. So virtual, feature event, golf, outdoors. These are those keywords. So let's click outdoors. So that only shows our outdoors events. So if we uncheck, we'll go to filter by. We'll uncheck outdoors. That shows all of our events. Let's do one more filter. So let's filter by virtual. So same thing, it only shows our virtual events. So that's how keywords work with the list UI on the event group. So next, when adding an event to your calendar, the location will now be a clickable URL where you can click in and view that location right from Google Maps. So let's show you how that works. So we'll click into one of our events. We'll find one of our registered attendees. And we'll open up their attendee link. And let's click Add to Calendar. So we're on their registration confirmation page. We'll click Add to Calendar. And we'll do Google. And let's click Save. And if I hover over that event, we can click right into that location. And that'll open up that location right in Google Maps. So our next enhancement is that video streams will now be available 15 minutes before an event starts, allowing attendees more time to join. So for instance, if you have meeting prep where you have certain users or staff that need to attend that webinar early, they now can. So let's show you how that works. So let's go to our Blackthorn test event. You'll see we have our streaming service URL. And let's set our event to start in 15 minutes. So we'll do the 20th. We'll do it at 9 a.m. It's actually 8:50 a.m. right now. Click Save. Let's open up that event. You can see our event starts Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So now let's go to our attendee link URL. Now I can click in and join. Boom. It takes me right to the streaming service URL. Our next enhancement is that the Ash UI will now close the registration window when the event item sales end date is in the past. So once that sales window has passed, that event will show as completed and registrants will no longer be able to register for that event. So let's show you how this works. Let's go back to our virtual event. Let's click into our event item. And currently the sales end date is 12/31, but let's go ahead and change that. Let's change that to 12/17. So let's navigate back to our event. Let's do a hard refresh. One more time. Now you can see that event shows as completed, so people will no longer be able to register for that event because the sales period has ended. Next, when cloning events, the event item sales start date and sales end date will now be cloned as well. And I'll quickly show you how that works. So we'll navigate to our virtual event. We'll click into our event item. And as you can see, we have sales start date and sales end date. So let's go and clone this event. So we'll go to our event, we'll click clone, and we'll make sure to clone our event item. We'll just call this virtual event 2 and click clone. Now on that cloned event, if we go to our event item, those two fields should be populated. Yep, so you have sales start date and sales end date. So we've also added a back button to the attendee registration lightning component, create an easier use for our back office staff. So let's go to one of our events. And you'll see this lightning component here, and we'll click select to actually register an attendee. Previously, to get out of this widget, you would have to click X here. We've now added this back button. So it's easy to click out. You no longer want to register, you can just click back. So next, we've added a create webinars for events and create webinars for sessions buttons on the Blackthorn Events admin page. This will create webinars for all events that have a value for webinar account, but no value for webinar meeting URL. This allows you to create webinars in mass across multiple events, all at the click of a button. Now you no longer have to do it individually at the event level. So let's show you how this works. We'll go to the Events Admin tab, and we'll click Batch Jobs. You see there's two buttons down here. So create webinars for events and create webinars for sessions. So I can click either of these, and now I'll run that batch job. We'll create those events webinars in mass. Same thing for the sessions as well. So that will run that batch job as well. Last but not least, when an event has free and paid tickets available, it will now show free and paid tickets available instead of starting at XYZ price. So let's show you how this works. So let's navigate to one of our events that has both free and paid tickets. So we'll go to Dunder Mifflin Golf Tournament, click into our event URL. So this is what it used to look like. Price starts at, say, $200. But now let's show you what that looks like with our newest release. So now that will show us free and paid tickets available. So it makes it clear for the end user that there's both paid and free options. Next, there's a number of notable bug fixes we want to walk through. So first, we fixed a bug where the event item quantity fields were not updating when an attendee registered for an event. This was allowing attendees to overbook that event. So this has now been fixed, but please let us know if you notice any issues. Another issue that was fixed was when an attendee registered with their attendee link URL, the redirect URL button was not appearing if defined on the event. So let's show you how this works. So we'll go to our Dunder Mifflin Golf Tournament. We'll scroll down. You'll see this redirect URL. This will take them to the Office fandom site. We also labeled the button with click here for your website. In order for that button to show, we had to set redirect to URL under post registration. So if we click into that, there's two options, show success message or redirect to URL. In this case, we want to redirect to URL and show that button. So we'll click save. Let's scroll up and open up one of our attendee links. So let's click into that attendee link. So the issue before is you would not see that redirect URL button, but now this is what it will look like with the newest release. So click here for website. Now once they've registered, they can click in and navigate to the actual website. So this takes them right to that Office fandom website. So another issue that was fixed was when iframing the event page, the category filter was staying applied when navigating to other pages and returning back. This was the case where I had two different event calendars on my site, and when I navigated one calendar, I filtered by a certain category and navigated to another page. That filter would stick, yielding 0 results on that new calendar page. So this has been fixed. Another bug that was fixed was when attempting to clone an event with an email template associated would display an error message. This has now been resolved, and you should not run into any errors when cloning our events. So next, I wanted to walk through a couple custom questions bugs that were fixed with this latest release. So first, when adding conditions to forms, previously the go-to form element field was being populated by the supplemental question information. So if that supplemental question information field was blank and you wanted to add in a conditional field, it was yielding no results. This has been adjusted and will now be populated by the enter your question to ask below field. So let's show you this live. So we'll navigate to our forms and we'll click into our Connect to University free ticket. You'll see I don't have any supplemental question information here. So previously when I was trying to add in a condition, I wasn't able to pull in these questions because there was no value here. But now we're actually using the question field. So let's click into Do You Know Michael Scott? And you scroll down. As you can see, I already have some form elements added as conditions, but let's go ahead and add a new one. So I'll click Add Condition. Scroll down. You'll now see all of those options. So it's pulling in question and not the supplemental information field. So I can select from any of those options. Next, another issue with custom questions that was when using the form preview, previously the date field would be cut off by another question. So it looked like this. So that calendar was cut off by the next question. But now with this latest release, let's show you what that looks like. So click form preview. You notice I have what day is your birthday, so that's my date field. So click form preview. That calendar is no longer cut off. So the last improvement or bug fix with our custom questions was that when modifying forms, changes were saving but not being reflected on the Visualforce page. So for example, I set this field to required, I save, I navigate back to that Visualforce page, it was no longer showing as required. So this has been fixed, and let me show you this on our form. So let's make this what is his greatest strength required. So click edit. It's actually already required, so let's make it not required. So we'll click no and click save. So let's navigate back to that question. And required shows no. So all changes will be reflected on that Visualforce page after saving. So our next bug fix was that the attendee registration lightning component was displaying the incorrect event start times. So this has now been corrected to show the correct start time, and it'll also show the time zone as well. So let's show you that live. So let's navigate to our contact. And you'll see on our registration lightning component, the event's March 5th and starts at 11 a.m. America, New York. So now let's go to our event and just double check that time. So March 5th, 11 a.m. So we'll go into Dunder Mifflin Golf Tournament. And March 5th, 11 a.m. America, New York. So the time zone matches. You'll now see that correct time and time zone on that registration component. Our next bug fix is that when using campaign and event sync, when updating the attendee's registration status to invited, the campaign member status field was not automatically syncing over and not updating to invited. So let's show you how this fix works. So we'll go to our virtual event. We'll show that the campaign has been linked here. So click into that campaign. We have event auto sync enabled, so set to yes. Also, let's go to our event setting. Scroll down a little bit. You'll see we have statuses set. So when the campaign member is invited for the event, their status will automatically sync to invited. So once that attendee registration status equals invited, that campaign member status will update to invited as well. So let's click into one of our attendees. So we have invite tester who has a status of to invite. If I go to his contact, his campaign member status is currently sent. But now let's go in and send the invite. So we'll update the attendee status from to invite to invited. And we'll click into that contact. Now you can see that status has automatically updated to invited. So next, we fixed a bug when using the hide QR code from the attendee link field on the event setting. The QR code was still appearing. So this is the case where you weren't doing a virtual event with a streaming service URL, but you still wanted to hide that QR code. If you selected yes, that QR code was still showing. So let's show you that fix. So we'll navigate to our event. We'll go to our event setting. And you can see we have hide QR from attendee link set to yes. So previously, if this was set to yes, that QR code would still show. So now let's navigate back to our event. Let's go to one of our registered attendees. Let's open their attendee link. So you can see that the QR code still shows, but with our latest fix, this will be hidden once that field is selected yes on the event setting. So let's do a hard refresh. Now you can see that QR code is hidden. Next, we fixed an issue with events adding extra space in rich text fields. So an example is your description field on the event. It was adding extra spacing on that live event page. So let's navigate to the back office. We'll navigate to one of our events. Let's go to our Blackthorn Cyclist Association event. Scroll down. So this is what the description field should look like on the event. And this is a rich text field. So let's navigate to our event. You can see there's all this extra spacing added. So let's show you what this looks like with our latest fix. So now you can see that description looks exactly like it was set on the event. So there's no more extra spacing. So next, we fixed an error when authorizing WebEx webinar accounts. I think we showed this earlier, but now you can authorize those WebEx webinar accounts to use for both events and sessions. Last but not least, we fixed a caching issue with big list groups that was causing pick list values to not update appropriately. So when adding new pick list options to those big list groups, those are not showing on the live event form. This has now been fixed. And to wrap up with our webinar today, we have an upcoming change within one of our upcoming releases regarding the streaming service URL. We will be deprecating the streaming service URL field in favor of the meeting join URL field. This will allow for URLs longer than 255 characters while at the same time supporting webinar accounts. So URLs can be added there manually or added via the webinar account, which you saw earlier today. The streaming service URL field will still be supported for the next few months, and we'll give a notification on one of our upcoming releases once this field is no longer supported. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you have any questions, please reach out at community.blackthorn.io, and that's community.blackthorn.io. Thanks again, and have a great week.